Good morning. Welcome to Viewpoint, your program of personalities, politicians, and perspectives. And today we have a great personality in the community and several perspectives, I would presume. With your leisure, Madam Co-host, we will start off again with the usual kudos.
Yes.
And I think it might, and you might want to chime in here. Someone might put in your own. A lot of folks worked very hard to put on this production called Wolfstock last Saturday.
Yeah.
And I would just comment that I don't know anything about it except that I like animals, and particularly dogs. I walked down there, walked around there, and was very, very impressed with the number of, for want of a better word, exhibitors.
Yeah, amen, yeah.
And somebody did a lot of work in beating the bushes to come up with some folks to come down there and participate, help out. I thought, on balance, from my viewpoint, just walked through, it was a great success.
Well, I took my 2-year-old great-grandson, Liam, Loud.
Happy Liam, yes.
Yes.
He's almost as good looking as my grandson, who's named Liam.
Well, it's nice to know he ran at least second. But at any rate, Liam and I had a wee of a time, and there were all kinds of dogs down there and all kinds of exhibits and all kinds of people. It was really nice to see the turnout. I didn't take my dog down there, Jim, for obvious reasons. He's kind of a harebrained.
I'm not going to go there. Mr. Ice was down there in a professional capacity. Would you like to comment about what you thought about it, James, at all?
Really good. I mean,
I thought it was, I don't have any idea how it worked out as far as monies are concerned, because that's the object of the whole thing. And again, while we're at this kudo business, and we've done this almost ad nauseum, and I don't mind about that at all, those folks out there at our Humane Feed do a great job.
Oh, amen.
And that place looks so nice as you drive by there on Lincoln Parkway. And we're lucky, our pets are lucky to have that operation going.
They sure are, and those volunteers out there are so dedicated. Volunteerism is becoming a cause for lots of things, and it's kind of a dwindling pool. It's not easy to get them. Now, I just talked to the gal I worked for at the hospital before I retired last year, because I got so old. And she told me she just got, I believe it was 5 new volunteers that she was so excited about, because they were really go-getters. And boy, I tell you, anytime you can find 5 new volunteers, and it makes you, it serves 2 purposes. It helps whoever you're volunteering for, and it makes you feel good for doing something that matters.
You stand by, Clay, because we're going to get to you in just a little bit. Sometime between now and 8:45, we'll get to you.
I can wait. You all have fun.
Yeah, Clay, just talk among yourself.
I can do that.
I do. Before we get into serious business of city government here, and we do appreciate your presence here, sir. I've said it before, and again, we're going to come back again next Tuesday night, the honor fight, the 29th. The honor fight goes out to Washington that early that morning and comes back late that night. And the reason I mention it is, listen, folks, if you want a little slice of Americana, and we need a lot of that today, go down there at the Springfield Capital Airport. Don't get there any later than 8 o'clock. Even though you may have to wait till 9 or 9:30 before the flight comes in. It's worth it. It's just always rewarding to see these fellows come off that airplane after a long, and in some cases a hard day for some of them, you know. It's an experience. So I would commend that to you as turn the doggone TV off. It's all just disappointment anyway most of the time. Telling what candidate's no good and what candidate's no good. So go ahead. Why don't we get serious? And Clay's made a drive all the way. Oh, I did want to comment though, Mr. Reich. Is this the Lazy Row version of IGA up here? That's an aside comment, because the owner of this station grows fruit up here, and there are many bushels of apples picked out there, or whatever they are. Pears, Korean pears. Okay. All right, Mrs. Busby, let's get serious.
Hi, Clay Johnson.
Hello.
Clay is the city manager for the city of Lincoln, and he's been here just approaching a year. And there have been a lot of changes in the city of Lincoln due to one thing and the next, the untimely demise of our immediate past mayor.
Right.
So I'm sure that it's kept you really on your toes with things changing the way they have. We were talking before we came in about mayors used to be the mayor for 20 years. That wasn't highly unusual. And
they got about $200 a year.
Yeah, right. But we've had a kind of a spate of bad luck here.
Right.
But your job is to keep it all running smoothly in interims, isn't it?
Right.
Make it easier for the mayor to be the mayor.
That's the hope. It's to make everyone's job, the council, the staff, the mayor, all their jobs easier. As we all know, local government kind of ebbs and flows. It has huge ups, huge downs. It's kind of inevitable, but the administrator position or the manager position kind of mitigates the big swings that you have in local government, tries to keep things on a even keel.
What a job.
It's an interesting job. It's something different every day, and I think that's what attracted me to it. I can say pretty unequivocally that I didn't come here expecting 3 different mayors in 11 months. That's not something you anticipate.
No.
But it is part of the job, and part of our job is to be prepared and be ready, and prepare when you can and be ready when you can't prepare. So with Yogi Berra passing away, maybe that's a little yogiism for you.
There you go.
Today.
Yes.
But yes, it's something that you don't really anticipate, but hopefully the administrator position makes things smoother and easier for everyone.
And unfortunately, there have had to be a number of transitions in your 11 months. You talk about the ups and downs. Certainly, one of the downs must come down to dollars. The state's the country's in a bad way financially. The state's in a bad way financially, and as it trickles down, I suppose the city has problems then because of the state's financial problems.
In a lot of respects, no. I think that the health of the city financially is pretty good. Do we want to spend are we able to spend all the money that we want on everything? Absolutely not. We try to budget within our means. We try to budget for projects that we know that we can commit to. But there are revenues that are under attack from the state, mostly motor, what we call MFT, motor fuel tax. Those payments have been withheld since the summer, June or July, as part of the whole state budget negotiation. Video gaming tax is another thing that's been held by the state recently, and we have to be prepared for that. We have to figure out ways to deal without that revenue, at least in the interim. But overall, I would say that the city's in pretty good financial shape.
Go ahead, please, Judith.
The advent of the medical marijuana interest has come to us locally. Is this farm, or whatever you call it out here, part of the city, or is that outside the city?
That would be the county.
That's the county.
So the recent wind farm development and the marijuana Cresco Labs development are both in the county and not in the city.
And in the future, we're going to have a gentleman up in Fulton County who has a retail facility up there that I don't know where he's going to get his product. There's a big place up at Delavan that's supposed to be growing this medicinal marijuana, a very big complex. And this gentleman is going to be the retailer for these products. And the reason I'm aware of that is our son is in charge of security for that.
Okay.
He's retired from the state of Illinois now, and he's double dipping.
Yeah.
Well, say what you want about the politics of medical marijuana or the legalization of marijuana, for that matter.
Which would probably be next.
I mean, it appears to be that way. It appears to be that that's the slope that we are going on, and there's a number of different viewpoints on what that means. But I can point to Colorado. Colorado has had oodles of revenue from the sale of marijuana, to the point where the legislature is having to decide how part of the legislation for the legalization in Colorado was to possibly give the money back to the taxpayers, depending on the amount of revenue that was generated. So I think Colorado legislators now are trying to figure out, we really don't want to give it back.
Right, of course.
Well, no.
Of course.
Right.
Now, both of these projects that you mentioned, both the new wind farm, proposed wind farm, and the marijuana farm, I don't know what they call those darn things. Well, at any rate, both were looked at solely as revenue producers.
I think the county was looking for development, and they are proud that those things chose Logan County to base themselves here, albeit contentiously.
Yeah.
However, nothing is ever a single issue thing.
No.
Are there any things that could spin off from either of these that would affect your job as city manager?
Well, that's hard to say. From a security standpoint, for like the medical marijuana, possibly, our assistance with fire in case, a building burned, or if we had to somehow assist the county in some type of policing effort. But most of the effects are probably minimal. I wouldn't anticipate, many more problems from that.
Clay, I don't want to put you in a position, and I guess I am going to, whether I want to or not. The elephant in the studio here this morning is
Are you talking about me?
There's an elephant in here. We don't have much room.
I'd be more discreet than that, my dear. There's been considerable talk and discussion, council floor and so forth, about the need for expanded physical plant services for our fire and our police departments. And of course, we're talking about expansion of a lot of money as that develops. I guess I didn't mean to put you on the spot at all, but you're not in a position to make any particular comments except from the city management standpoint. It would appear to me, and I'll just throw this out for conversation, 648-5510, in case somebody would like to chime in on this subject. We have a terrible infrastructure problem here in this town. You can't drive home and perhaps have to go to the new car dealership, talk about your suspension on your car and so forth. I don't want to be facetious about that. Have any comments about that, sir? Often people look at local government or a project as a zero-sum game. And in that, I mean, if we throw all of our eggs into a public safety basket, then that means nothing else can be accomplished. And first off, I want to say that that's probably not the case. If we were to move forward with the public safety building, I believe that we would still be able to tackle infrastructure problems. However, there's been no decision made to move forward with a public safety building, and simply the study that was done was a study to determine if we were to move forward with the building, where would we put it? The council has the priority or has the responsibility to determine what priorities are for the community. And if they believe, as a collective or as a majority, that roads, sewers, fix all those problems before we move on to a public safety complex, then that's what I'm entitled to or obligated to fulfill. I hope people understand that administrators, managers throughout the country, throughout the state, they don't make policy decisions. They make the recommendations through their expertise, through their staffs, to the elected officials, and let the elected officials make the best decision with the information they have in front of them
at that time. And once that decision's made, it's our obligation to carry it out.
So you're kind of a walking research lab then.
Yeah, in fact.
In a lot of respects, sure. Sure.
It isn't that, there's no question about that the space is needed, particularly in the fire department, I would hazard to say. I think Barney and Bill, the horse-drawn fire wagons went out of that facility. So, it's very crowded. And go ahead.
Well, I just want to say that the need is there.
I don't think anybody questions that.
Just to give an example in the police department, we have officers who have very limited space needs, a very small evidence room, not to the capacity that we need it to be. We have a very small armory that doesn't hold all the weapons that we need it to hold for the protection of our officers. Also, we have officers who sit at desks where they process evidence, clean their guns, and have lunch. And that's really not a good working condition for those officers.
No, it is not.
And in the case of the fire department, we have to order special equipment as far as trucks and whatnot with modified chassis so that they can fit into the building and not exceed the weight limits of the current station. In fact, we can't even store our aerial ladder within the fire department itself. We have to store it in a garage off-site because it wouldn't fit in the current building. And there's other needs, technological needs and things of that nature. But there's a lot of needs, not just public safety. Just like you mentioned, there's infrastructure needs, sidewalks, roads, sewers, and we have plans to address those as well. It's an ongoing process, and it's all dependent upon the priorities of the council.
I have had an occasion to speak with a surveyor, and the process of trying to find the pins with the old way back, the old surveyors put in. We've covered up a lot of those with our improvements as we go along, and it creates a real problem for somebody who wants to define legally a certain tract of land. It's kind of an interesting offshoot. Go ahead, Judith K.
I was wondering, you're wearing your UK shirt here, proudly wearing.
Absolutely.
Yes. How in the world does the college, the university, ever prepare you to become a city manager? Because surely, no matter what you study, there are all kinds of things presented to you that have nothing to do with what they said at the UK.
It's theory and practice is, I guess, the name of the course.
I think there's a lot of that. I got some business training at Kentucky. I had a minor in business. That's where you learn your basics of finance, marketing, management, et cetera, et cetera.
And all that was valuable.
Absolutely, because I went to Indiana for grad school afterwards, majoring in public administration with a concentration in local government, where they built upon some of that business component, but also they talked about management more, they talked about public organizations more, and then we have a more focus on economic development classes or local government classes and issues you may face in a local government. All local governments are different. You can't teach for them all. Some of it is theory and practice, but there's also continuing education. I am a member of the International City Managers Association, and they have conferences and educational sessions that go on throughout the year. They have one conference that's fantastic, and it's this year it's in Seattle, and thousands of city managers from across the nation come in, listen to workshops that are highly valuable, and hopefully take something away from the different workshops that are offered.
As you read the news articles on council meetings and so forth, we don't have a lot of people up there with an axe to grind and bringing up there and pounding their fists and so forth. We're going to give the folks a chance to do that on the airways just after we take a short commercial break. And if anybody would like to call in and discuss note that I said discuss, not argue, city government with Mr. Clay Johnson. We'd be happy to take your calls. Go ahead, James. Right back live in the studios here. The program is Viewpoint. The call numbers are 96.3 WLCN. The phone number is 648-5510. Our guest this morning is Mr. Clay Johnson, a bright, good-looking young man who we are happy to have in charge of city management. What would be your exact professional title, Clay?
City Administrator for Lincoln.
City Administrator of Lincoln, Illinois.
There are, throughout Illinois, there are village administrators, village managers, city managers, and city administrators. And it's basically based upon the type of government that you have set up by charter.
Now, what kind of government would require an administrator, and what type of government would require a manager? Because I don't know what the difference is.
It's dependent upon how the city or village is set up. And basically, the village manager or city manager, Normal, for instance. Normal is ran by a city manager. They have a mayor, but the city manager is in charge of operations, but also makes personnel decisions. That individual can hire or fire someone in a particular position. Administrators, by and large, are part of weak mayor systems. And that means that the council makes the majority, or if not all, of the policy decisions. The mayor may or may not have the ability to regulate personnel, and the administrator is in charge of operations. So in Lincoln, if you think about it as a business, the mayor is the CEO, and the administrator is the CAO, or COO, Chief Operation Officer, Chief Administrative Officer.
We need to remember, of course, as we experience different reports on what's going on up there in City Hall, that our city council members, in fact, are really volunteers. Make themselves available to help administer the government of the city of Lincoln. The mayor, and by the way, we should mention that but the mayor gets a munificent stipend of like $2.38. What is the stipend for the mayor? It's very, very minimal.
The mayor's salary for the course of a year is $12,000. And you base that, you put $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
And if you think about the amount of time that a mayor spends answering emails, answering phone calls out in the community, it really breaks down to about $2.38, like you said. It's not a job that you do for the money by any means.
My goodness. Well, Marty is, we want to recognize the official appointment of Marty Neitzel and congratulate her on that. And Marty has served us as a city council member for several years now, and is, like all the rest of them sitting up there in those seats, my friend Orville Busby included, a lot of dedication. I can tell you firsthand that when Buzz was with us and on the city council, he studied the issues, and almost to a fault. And you can't really say to a fault, because they were doing the job that he was elected to do. And so our council members up there, they don't just show up for meetings and sit down and make decisions. There's a lot of information that goes to them before they go to the meetings. What would you say, Clay, would be, in your opinion, the most pressing issue right now? Boy, there's so many of them. That's a loaded question.
Getting a mayor was, for quite a while, the most pressing issue.
Sure.
I think that we have some infrastructure projects that we're working on that are pressing. One is the depot project that continues on and on. We have an upgrade to the Pekin Street parking lot next to the library that will improve sewers in that area, improve the parking lot itself, and the alleyway. If you've gone through that alleyway between the library and those businesses off of Broadway, it's in pretty bad shape. And then we have some sidewalks that we would like to address, if not, probably not this construction season, but early next construction season. We set about $175,000 aside in motor fuel tax to address sidewalks, and mostly those will be around the central school Lincoln Junior High School area. Those sidewalks are in pretty bad shape, and there's lots of kids that walk on them every day.
True. You mentioned the depot. Would you talk a little bit about the plans for the depot? They've moved those cars that were at the back of it. They're gone now.
They are still there, unfortunately.
I thought they were gone.
They are sitting there. What has happened?
I haven't let her out of the house very much. she didn't ever get down Pekin Street.
Much to my chagrin, the cars are still there.
Yeah, I thought they were supposed to be gone by August the 10th,
well,
I remember.
That was the intention. No,
Plan
no
A,
question. It was Plan A. What has happened is we had a contractor come in. The contractor demolished everything that is not original to the footprint of the original depot.
Okay.
So those additions that were brought in by the restaurant itself. So the plan will be to restore the depot at its original footprint.
That's wonderful.
And the grounds. Part of that obviously requires the removal of the rail cars that was there. We've contracted with a company at their expense to remove the cars. We did think that originally August was going to be when they were to remove the cars, but their crane operator has become ill, so they're looking for a new crane operator, and are still slated to get done probably in the next 15 days. We have a contract with them, 15 to probably 30 days. We have
Or
a contract. Well, there shouldn't be any more or so, because we have a contract with them to perform within 60 days, and we have a performance bond from this company. And
Okay, good.
if they don't perform, we'll take the bond and try to find a way to do it.
Yeah,
Right.
good. Well, just watching those cars go out of there, I'm interested in how they do it. That's going to be very interesting to see that done. And
It'll be a very interesting and very quick process, because the company that's coming doesn't want to pay for a crane operator for a long period of time.
I guess
it's expensive. Basically, what they will do is use the boom arm of the crane, pick the cars up, take them off where they sit on the depot grounds now, and put them on a flatbed truck and drive them off to probably the Chicago suburbs to get restored, and then eventually put back on the tracks.
that takes some considerable old boy
Yeah.
to haul those.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when we see our wind towers go through town, I guess those probably are in about the same weight as a car.
I'm sure.
It's going to be very interesting. It'd just be fun to watch the logistics of it and how it's done.
It will be.
So you're saying then that within a couple of weeks' time, maybe that will happen.
Yep.
Should happen. And the plan is to put it back the way it was back when I was a little boy. Well, it was back.
Well, I'm not going to guess. I'm not going to guess what that even looked like.
Well, the Conestoga wagon. But now, what are the plans for the interior of that wonderful old depot?
There haven't been any definitive plans made yet, but a portion of it we believe will be professional office space for a tenant of some type to take, or maybe a little community space, but nothing's been really determined. We're working with the state of Illinois and an engineering firm, Parsons Brinkerhoff, who is their consultant, to start the design process, and they can't really start the design process until the cars are removed and demolition has occurred.
Won't it work? Well, for instance, you were talking about needing a new home for the fireman or for the policeman or somebody. There's no way that you could...
Not quite enough space.
I can understand
for that type of operation. Just the trucks
Number one,
alone
you'd get
on
away
fire.
from the original footprint if you did that.
Right, and it would
And
take away from it.
I think historically and aesthetically, it would look so much better to have that the way it was originally. Of course, Thomas Wolfe said you can't go home again. Most of us old timers, we kind of live back in the past once in a while. Remember things the way they were and lament their passing.
Nostalgia. That's what they refer to that.
Yes.
The original one had the Railway Express Agency on the north end of that building, and I can see my friend Earl Boots to this very day pulling those wagons around there, the big Railway Express wagons. We shipped a lot of chickens out of there. Do you know that?
Yes.
No.
Have you ever heard that?
No, I haven't.
Oh well, we're not going to bore the
Really?
listeners with that. But Siebes Hatchery was a very big deal way back in
Okay.
the olden days, and they shipped thousands upon thousands of chicks out here. God knows what the mortality rate was when they got here. But there are a few of us remember that with fondness. So,
Oh, sure.
if the city administration and our mayor and council had $100,000 dropped on them,
Oh, man.
where would you go immediately? What would be the first thing you would do?
Wake
you
up
would-
from
or
your
you would
dream.
recommend
That is
it-
a
you would
loaded
recommend to
question.
the council.
Oh, what would I... That's tough.
Well, we do that up here.
But first off, I think the disclaimer is the council decides where the money goes. That's for sure. We have a number of different places where it could go. That would include pensions. That would include infrastructure. That could include debt on equipment that we're currently paying down, or EPA through the sewer. So there's a number of different avenues that we could spend $100,000. Downtown, I mean, there's that too. Pensions would probably be a
Well, you
nice place.
illustrate
If you
the
just got a
point.
free $100,000 to go towards pensions would probably be a good thing to do.
You just at the point. The point is that while $100,000 is a lot of money by anybody's definition, it's a drop in the bucket in this city as to what we need as far as starting our infrastructure work, for
Right.
instance.
Right, that's exactly right.
Because we can spend all kinds of money on it, just on curbs and gutters and streets.
Right.
Streets alone.
Yep.
Let alone curbs and gutters.
I mean, we're talking about, like I said, $175,000 for sidewalks that's set aside in the budget. That's only going to do the area in and around
Right.
Central School. So that's how far $175,000 will get you. So $100,000 is
Nothing.
more or less, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Which is still
everything
a lot
to
of money.
us.
Yeah.
But in terms of a $13 million operating budget, not quite so much.
Not big, yeah. I'd like to get back to the railroad business just for a minute, please, and thank you. Have you heard at all from the railway what their plans are as far as Lincoln being a stop for this high-speed train?
It will be a stop for the high-speed rail. Part of the depot renovation will include a station next to the original building for rider purposes. It'll have a kiosk so you can buy your tickets and wait for the train while it comes through.
In the depot itself?
It'll probably be a separate building next to the depot.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, what are they going to do with the little building that was a separate building next
Probably
to the depot?
demolish it. There hasn't been a definitive decision made on that, but it's not in the greatest of shape. So these high-speed rail funds have allocated for a new station design. And it's not going to be a station as not the footprint size of the depot, but something smaller where people can wait for the train and buy their ticket.
I have a solution to your financial problems. We just get Amtrak to give us the money they spent, an incredible amount of money spent on that black fencing clear up and down the right of way from village to village to village. That's an incredible thing. You just shake your head in amazement.
Wow.
Well, it's more attractive than putting up chain link, I'll say that.
Yeah.
And going down the center of our downtown or through our community, I would prefer to look at black fence than
Oh yeah,
chain
as
link.
far as but I yeah.
When you get outside the stretches of the community, maybe something would have been a little more cost effective.
Well, I went to her south one on West Kickapoo, and that black fencing is clear down there in
Yep.
Punksville, and you wonder, boy.
Yeah.
Well, that's a prejudicial comment.
You can take that to the state. We didn't have anything to do with that.
Right. Well, it's very pretty and pretty costly.
Now, Pekin Street. Let's address that for just
Sure.
a minute. That will be a closed crossing.
Yes, it will be closed.
At what point in time is that? Like next spring, next year, sometime?
Well, it's
Clay?
a little dependent upon the ICC, the Illinois Commerce Commission. They will issue the city an order to close the the crossing. So Union Pacific will pull up the rail, bring it down to sod, and then it's our responsibility as a city to clean up the approaches, the aprons that lead up to the tracks. The council has already decided to close Pekin Street. It's now we're waiting on the state to give us the order.
The council decided to close it. I thought that it was the railroad who decided to close
The
it.
council chose. The council did a study on the crossing, the 5 crossings that happen within the community. And the council chose Pekin Street as the one to close. And then they voted and approved that closure.
The purpose of closing it is what, sir?
One, to lower the number of crossings through the area. So it's a safety measure for the UP. And they're only going to upgrade the remaining crossings with what they call quad gates as part of the high-speed rail project. And it's my understanding that since the railroad has the right-of-way, it's their track, it's their land, they could have chosen to close any of the crossings they wanted to.
I see.
Because it's their property.
Again, looking back, but shortly after the Second War, somewhere along that line in that period of time, the railroads the country over got rid of their second line. They always had 2 lines, east, west, north, south, whatever. And they went mass closing of the right-of-ways and for tax reasons and so forth. And now they're putting in more railing and more bypasses. So it makes you think, maybe in retrospect, maybe they shouldn't have been in such a hurry to close that other line all over the country.
Yep. Hindsight's 50-50.
Who said act in haste and repent at leisure? Somebody
I
smart.
don't know, but I like that.
Maybe it was my mom.
As we wind down, Clay, do you have any particular comments that you would like to make, sir? And again, Judy and I and Jim, we appreciate your presence and coming up here. The citizenry needs to know, entitled to know what's going on with our city.
Absolutely.
And you've had a pretty much of an open book as far as the administration of the city is concerned.
Well, I'm glad. First off, thank you for the opportunity. I enjoy coming here. I enjoy talking with you all. And to your point about an open book, it's been a goal of the council's and a goal of mine to become more transparent and have more outreach into the community. And one way that we are doing that is through a newsletter that will be offered in your physical sewer bill. We're calling it The Link, L-I-N-C. And it's hopefully a connection between the residents and City Hall so they can see news and decisions that are made that affect their everyday lives. Now,
Well, that's neat.
that'll only be in the physical sewer bill you get once every 3 months. But if you're still interested in reading what the link says, it will be produced monthly. So you can go to the website, www.lincolnil.gov, and under, I believe, the services tab, it says the link newsletter, and you can read any and all of the editions of the newsletter that'll go out.
Now, who's going to be Is that another job of yours?
I will say that I've spearheaded the effort. Yes.
All right, good for you.
But
kudos.
That's
Thank
other
you.
duties as
It's
a
other
sign?
duties as a sign. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. But I hope it's useful. It's really to be a conversational piece and informative piece. And if there's questions out there about particular things that City Hall may be doing, hopefully it answers those questions. But if not, talk to us and we'll try to get you the best answer we can. It may not be the answer you like, but it's the answer that we've got.
Well, the
There
bottom
you go.
line is you're not trying to hide behind a bushel. You
No.
want to be very transparent what we're doing up there in City Hall. And instead of bitching and carrying on and griping, and there's plenty of that. You see that on national TV, by the way. We just need to be more more thoughtful, and if we have problems, discuss them in an objective and a forthright way. And speaking of that, we'll close with a comment. You're going to guess who made this comment. He was called Tricky Dick.
Oh,
Our president at one point in time, way back,
not so way back.
made this comment. Sure, there are dishonest men in local government, but then there are dishonest men in national government. Signed, Richard Nixon. Thank you very much, Clay Johnson.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here, son.